conversation with our beautiful Jo Irwin, and I get to unveil or find out a little bit more about Jo in Tribe Leaders Unveiled and in a great conversation about consciousness and so much more. So Jo, thank you for joining us. Let's start telling everyone who you are and what brought you to this wonderful state of consciousness.
Oh, wow, that's a long story. How long have you got? It's been a life's journey, actually. So, hello, everybody, and thanks for having me, Sophia. Love to share a little bit about my work and my world and what I do. And today's conversation is all about being in conscious leadership of your life. So, it's taken me a long time to get to realize that I was unconsciously leading my life through all the things that I've done. I started my journey when I left home at 17, actually. I went on a totally different path than what my upbringing was about, and landed my first job in an acupuncture clinic. So I guess that was the foundation of taking me on this journey of health and healing and well-being. And the more I dived into it, the more I was curious and the more I wanted to learn. And it's just been like 40 years of learning and evolving and, sometimes not evolving, sometimes just being still and letting life drag me along. I was specifically when I was found myself a single mum of 4 children, and that was a whole new level of looking inside, looking deeply inside, and finding ways to conquer all the challenges that came before me every single day. And one of those was the emotional side of just getting out of the funk of being in this place of despair, which I would have used to call depression, but now I call despair, because I was totally like not knowing where I was going. And so it's been an interesting journey for me, and being in conscious leadership of your life is something that we're always striving towards, because our default mind takes us to what we already know and how we already show up in the world and what we do based on our past experiences that form our beliefs and our programming and our behaviors from there. So it's been a bit of a untangling for me of all the past. And actually I was thinking yesterday, it was only a handful of years ago that I really got to the core of what was driving me, and was ready to look at the stuff, at the trauma, at the parts of me that needed to be healed in order to continue to move forward and be conscious of my life and be in leadership. And being in the driver's seat is part of that. So I now work with women in that capacity and helping to support them in driving their life forward, particularly in the area of overwhelm and anxiety that's been running through our veins from the beginning of time, through our ancestry lines, because women have taken responsibility for the majority of what they need to achieve in their life. And particularly when we were then almost given permission to go out into the workforce, right? And that added another layer into the children and the house and all the things, as well as going to work. So it's innately driving us, and really I'm about taking back your power and moving in that direction, doing the things that you want and love, and perhaps it means letting go of some of the things that you don't need in your life. And so that's my life's work. And take a breath. Is there a question you want to ask?
Thank you so much for sharing that, Jo. I'd love to know, what difference has it made in your life from being as you say, a conscious leader, to really becoming conscious about your values and other people's values, and conscious of what you're doing. So what difference has that made in your life compared to when you
Can you
were?
feel the relief? It's almost like that feeling, It's like, oh my goodness, life doesn't have to drive me. I drive life. And learning to be able to be present with my next steps and not feeling like I had to be doing all the things for all the people. And, I think my children were my greatest teachers there. I mean, as mothers, there's no way around it. We have to be there. We have to do the things. But learning strategies to do the things with the children and having them support you as much as you support them. I mean, that may not make a lot of sense to people, but there's ways that we can do things together to make life easier and not be running from that place that I have to do this. Like, this is my responsibility, which a lot of, mums do. And I did way back, this is all my responsibility and I have to make it work. And I was driven by having to be successful, to be able to provide, to be able to give them what they needed and wanted. And, this is a really important piece, is knowing that, no, you don't. You just have to love them, right? That's all we're here to do and that goes for anything and anyone in your life. Just have to love them, just be there, and all they need is love. And from that place, work out, what's important for you to be able to then provide what it is that they need. And I guess it goes back to just being. And once upon a time, we used to be in nature. We used to be in the hunter and gathering world of, and actually women used to do that, hunter and gathering as well, right? But it was so simple back then because there was none of this technology. There was none of this, workforce and corporations and power driving the world, right? It was a simple life. So for me, it's going back to that simplicity and knowing, and I'm just putting all the tools and strategies that have helped me to get there. But the big thing is when I did my NLP training and just realizing the stuff I'd been carrying that I needed to clear, and there's always layers of that and flavors of that, but being aware and conscious of maybe what is running me to be having to feel this way or do this or behave this way. What is it that's driving me for that? And one of the things, and I think I shared it yesterday in our tribe meeting, that really hit home again to me. It's not like I didn't know, but I love it how I always get these new reminders, or these reminders of what how women feel. And one woman was saying, well, what was driving her wanting to do all the things and be all the things was that, and this is in my Finding New Time program, was underneath that is not being good enough and having to prove to her family, having to prove that she is good enough. And, they're just the underlying layers that we carry with us all. And when we recognize it, it's beautiful, because when you recognize that, you go, it's like that aha moment, isn't it? It's like, oh man, has that been driving me all my life? Okay, I can do things differently now. And then we put in strategies that they can practice that will override those patterns and programs that are running us. And sometimes it's as simple as just recognizing what it is so that you can take action towards moving towards what you want rather than towards what you don't. Whereas most people are always, either living in the past of what's happened or living in, the future and planning things that possibly thinking about things that are driving them but aren't possibly serving them in running that same old story that, oh, I'll never get there, I'll never have this, or you know, oh, other people can do it but not me. So it's really taking the time to, you know, really making the time on a daily basis to check in with yourself and feel the feels, and then doing what you need to move forward based on that. And whether that is to do nothing, then do nothing. Just be, and be present with yourself. And things will land when you're in quiet silence. When things will land, when you're just being, doing the things, washing up, doing the washing, whatever it may be, just be with that and not think about what you need to do next in the next moment, or the afternoon to pick up the kids, blah 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 blah, all the things. Just be present with that, because that's when the gold drops in for you to be able to, okay, understand and realize who you are and what's running you. So taking that time daily for yourself is imperative, I believe, constantly checking in and doing that. But yeah, and that's pretty much what being in conscious leadership means to me, is like being in the driver's seat. You're running the show.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely love that. Like being in charge, being in charge of your own life.
Mm.
Life dictate to you, but you're taking responsibility and things like that, and taking, you know, as you said, being in the driver's seat.
Yeah. And you don't realize that till you take the time to do the work. I call it doing the work.
Yeah,
Like, you know, and that's why I love the group stuff so much, and in an empowered you program, an empowered you tribe. You know, this is the stuff that we talk about. This is the stuff that we look at, and through conversation, it's so powerful to help you navigate what's going on for you. So that's something I would encourage, you know, or anyone watching or anyone in the group, um, come and have a chat. Come and just be with us in a safe environment where we can talk about this, because, you know, so many suffering alone, thinking that, and that's another thing that runs women, you know, we have to do it all.
yeah,
I had that. We have to do it all. We don't have to do it all. We just have to have support. Is support your being your superpower. So come and get support.
yes, absolutely. And thank you for sharing that. And like I said, I love all that stuff, especially about being in the driver's seat, to be conscious of what we're doing, to be a leader in our own life. I really believe, and I think, and agree with you, Jo, we need to be a leader, a conscious leader in our own life before we can lead others.
Oh, yes.
It's all about that. And I'm assuming you haven't been like this your whole life. What actually brought about the change?
Oh, just that drive to wanting to learn, wanting to evolve, I've spent, oh my goodness, like I've had 2 7-year stints in different spiritual schools trying to tap into, you know, what was running me, what was driving. I always thought something was wrong with me. And this is the other thing. You think something's wrong with you. Nothing's wrong with you. It's just that I hadn't, you know, taken the time prior to that to really look deep and see what the core wounds were and where that was coming from. And when I realized that and I was able to release them in a safe space, that's when things started to transform for me. But the drive was, the catalyst was when I was left alone, because I had to step up. I was forced to step up, not for me, but for my children. And then doing the work and the drive to find some of the experts in the field, like I've worked with Tony Robbins and Jim Rohn, and I think I've talked about that in the past. But I just found myself that with that drive, that I was always guided to the right person and people and places and opportunities for growth. and learning. And remember my first experience with Jim Rohn. He was sitting in a huge conference room. I think it was in Brisbane, actually, and I travelled from Sydney, and I didn't know how I could do that. I was like, there's no way. I had no money. This is when I think my son was probably 6 months old, the baby. I had this thing about not wanting to leave the children for a weekend. That was just like, no one can take better care than I. And there was just no way I thought I could do that. I was like, no. But there was this inner voice inside of me going, you have to be there. You got to go. You just got to, that inner guidance was like, you've just got to make this happen. And it was the best decision of my life. And there was one line he said in that seminar over the weekend was, and I never heard it, and I believe it's something that every child should be taught in school, all of this stuff. And it was, for things to change, you have to change. For things to get better, you have to get better.
Yeah.
I can still feel the goosebumps now. My jaw just dropped. I went out of in the break, I just broke down. I don't know what happened, but it was that moment of transformation that something hit me in my brain that was like, okay, it's up to me. Only I can do this. I can't expect it just to happen. So I have to do the work. And in that moment, I made a decision that life would never be the same again. And that just took me on that tangent of learning, Tony. Spiritual teachers, Deepak Chopra, Louise L. Hay again was another big catalyst. Actually, she came before Jim Rohn, but I didn't realize how impactful that doing her work was at the time either. So I was always looking and searching. So there was many, many moments of those after that. After that was many moments.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And we definitely want to know more. I want to, we could go and have a whole conversation just about Jim Rohn and all those other, amazing people that have made such an impact on your lives and the lives of others. So definitely. So thank you for sharing that. For everyone who is watching, click on the links below that are below this video. So thank you to our amazing VA, Mayman, who's been putting your links everywhere, and connect with Jo. And before we wrap up, Jo, tell us, is there anything else you'd like to share about conscious leadership? And also, how can you help others become a conscious leader in their own life?
Sure. Okay. So I think the biggest thing that you could do is intentionally make time for you and schedule it into your daily routine. Or if you don't have a routine, just make it a part of your day, and checking in with yourself and listening to yourself. What does my body need? What does my mind need? What does my heart need right now? And just know that nothing else matters but that. As Sophia said, you're no good to anybody until you're, serving yourself first, and then you can serve from a full cup. All those cliches they say, but yeah, absolutely, it's true. But yeah, I work with one-on-one women over a 12-week period, and we really dive deep into the work and the parts of ourselves that we need to, have support in healing, specifically in trauma, and also taking you on that journey of really refining yourself again and living that life that you love. So that's a 12-week program, one-on-one. And then I have my group program, which is Finding You Time. And that's a beautiful program, which is all the stuff we've been talking about today: self-inquiry, self-care, boundaries, setting up your foundations for doing the work. And that's there's a wait list for that at the moment. There's one in process. So when that finishes, we'll be starting a new one. Also, if you wanted to just have an experience, I've just done an experience with someone on Monday who wrote, and this was because I use frequencies as well, and it was a frequency experience where they were having some blocks around where they wanted to move forward to, and we did a session around that, and we set an intention with a statement, and we ran that for her. I did a body scan, and we ran that for an hour for her after. And the next day she wrote to me and she said, "Oh my goodness." Throughout that time, that it was all done remotely. I wasn't with her, but she was she laid down and she said all these beautiful affirmations were coming up about who I was and who I am in that moment. So she said it was like her body was tingling. There was she was having problems with her thyroid. Her thyroid was going off and moving stuff, and I've yet to check in with her today, but because we do like a 5-day thing after that. But that is a powerful experience, and you can just do even a chakra balance your chakra. Check out your aura. It's an amazing tool I use. So if anyone wants to have an experience with that, reach out, because the Sacred Dew community get a super half price deal for any of the programs that, or at 50%. Yeah.
Definitely gotta take care of that.
Yeah. So
Take advantage of that.
what was that?
Definitely have to take advantage of that. That is absolutely amazing. A
Yeah. So
50%.
yeah, they're my core offers. So if anyone wants to check out my website, I think thank you, Manuna, for putting all the links in. I really appreciate you. Thank you.
We both do. And thank you, Jo.
You're so welcome.
Thank you. I know this has been a short conversation, quick conversation, and I'm looking forward to the next one. I really am, because I want to get to know more about your experiences with the other, with other people who are considered greats in their industry, how that has really impacted you. Plus, being conscious in your whole life, being a conscious leader, being conscious of what you do. And it's really challenging in today's world. We're getting pulled by so much, social media, technology, everything we've got to do. How can we really remain conscious? How do you really remain conscious in that world? So really, seriously want to go even deeper. Can this be part one? Can we have part?
Okay, sure. Yeah.
All right.
Any
Thank you ever
stories?
so much, Jo. And you have a
You're
beautiful
welcome.
day wherever you are. And for everyone who's watching, have a beautiful day wherever you are. And Jo, have a nice, beautiful day.
It's gorgeous. Yeah.
All right.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.